AM 590, KXSP Omaha's ESPN Radio. It's time for the Metro's only racing talk show. The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Buddy Ray.
Good morning, race fans, and welcome to the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with the K. Fast-paced racing, where you really can race against the pros now with these new Honda eco-friendly engines that Joe's Karting has installed on all of the karts at Joe's Karting. Get to Council Bluffs today. Get into Joe's Karting and do a little bit of dirt track. Do a little asphalt road course racing and get to know what it's like to be a race car driver. Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs, next to AMC Theater 17, Hooters, Quaker Steak and Lube, Mid-America Center, Bass Pro Shop in that area. It's in Council Bluffs and online, joeskarting.com with the K. Talking to the race promoter, the new race promoter for Adams County Speedway. We're talking with Mark Wymann. How you doing tonight, sir?
Very good. Very good.
Well, I got to tell you, I think you've got some big shoes to fill, and from what I hear in the area, you're not a bad man to fill them. So you've got a big job ahead of you in 2015, filling the shoes that were left vacant.
Well, exactly. Some bad circumstances. People have worked there a long time, things like that have gone on. It's time for good change over there. I'm taking a few people from I-80 with me. That is going to be the flag man, scoring in the tower, and some corner people, things like that. But so we're kind of trying to freshen it up with new people over there. And actually, we're really excited. Not often in December are you excited about going racing in the spring, but we are. We're excited about it. Got some rule changes and things like that we did, and everybody's pretty receptive to all the changes we want to do, and we're all trying to make racing everywhere better, whether it's at Joe's Karting or whether it's at I-80 or Sobbing County Speedway or Adams County Speedway. We all still try to do it so it gets better. We're
all here for the love of the sport, right?
You betcha. We're not here for the money, are we?
Definitely not.
Exactly.
Let's talk about.
Be fun.
Let's talk about some of the changes that you can talk about with your tentative 2015 schedule. What are some of the changes you guys are going to make as you're coming in for your first year at Adams County Speedway?
Well, we turned around and took the A mods, the B mods, and the hobby stocks, and basically mirrored the IMCA rules. Hopefully, we're going to get some guys floating around some different tracks. We got rainouts. We want everybody to come and enjoy visiting us, and we also want our guys to, if it's a rain out, they don't have to change a car. They can go somewhere else and race.
Now, are you still going to be NASCAR sanctioned, or are you guys going to move away from that sanctioning?
No, definitely NASCAR.
Okay.
NASCAR does such a nice payout. If you turn around and talk to anybody, a couple of champions who just come back from Charlotte this last week, they had a blast. They kind of treat them like kings. They turn around and NASCAR does a lot of, money and promotions and stuff with their drivers, and they give back quite a bit of money. So we will definitely stay NASCAR. It's just that we're right here in a mix of NASCAR and IMCA country.
Yep.
We've got to get everybody to work together.
And it's a lot cheaper if you have one rules package, and it's got to open you up. If you're going to be more IMCA friendly, then it opens you up, just like you said, that if there is a rain out at another track, they can come right over to Adams County Speedway and do a one-off race, and it's not going to take a lot of effort.
Exactly. And that's what we got to do. We've got to be friendly for everybody.
So you're going to mirror the IMCA rules package. What else can people expect to see different at ACS? ACS.
Yep, the mirroring in those three classes. We're mirroring the SLMR rules for the late models. So at I-80, those guys can float back and forth into the traveling series, the SLMR traveling series. We are also turning around, and with the Pro Street division, we're kind of trying to pull in some of the rule packages that got a little bit out of hand. We're trying to pull those in a little bit. We also turn around through a rule package in for the fun of it, trying to get some of the old Camaros back out of the weeds, get some of the guys that have been complaining they lost a car and they don't have any with this old Camaro. So trying to get that package in there, and yet also letting the IMCA stock cars race with them. So that's the most mixed class. Should be exciting to see how it works out. We've got a new, I guess it's not completely new, but a way of starting the features when we go two abreast. Normally, the leader is out on the front row by himself, second and third place behind him. We're going to turn around, but the leader gets choice. Second place starts right beside him, putting the action back right now.
So it's kind of like what NASCAR does up in the big touring series, where the leader gets to pick inside row, outside row, and then everyone falls in after that.
Yep, exactly. it should put some action back in. A guy's going to say, I don't want a yellow. I don't want to see a yellow if he's leading. And the second place guy's just praying for a yellow because he wants to turn around and get right there. And it should put the action right back in now that they both got to be on their toes, leaning up on the wheel, going hard.
Schedule-wise, what are you looking at for 2015? Can you talk about some of the dates you guys have set and you're pretty sure they're going to happen?
And, well, we got the weekly series. It'll start in the second week of April, and that runs all the way through the summer into the end of August. I think one weekend of September. I haven't seen the exact schedule yet to work out with. We have one MLRA race. The MLRA late models will be in town the week before the 4th of July. Then we have 2 SLMR races, I think one in July and one in August that'll be down there. And then we got the tradition at the end of the year. We've moved that forward a week, so the tradition will be another week earlier, kind of a little bit more where it used to be. So hopefully that's a little bit earlier in the year and get a few more cars there.
So I did hear you are going to bring the SLMR series back. And did I hear right that you're going to do 2 races this year again?
Yes, 2 SLMR, 1 MLRA, the tradition, and then all the weekly racing.
Any other special series you're thinking about bringing? Maybe the Nebraska 360s, this new 410 Touring series, anything like that?
Well, it probably won't happen this year, but we've talked about it. And it's so hard right now to schedule on the race for this year.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their schedules filled. We need, and that's what we're talking about, we need to schedule in for 2016, possibly a sprint car race of some sort, and getting that mixed in. So that's just planning dates and getting that worked out ahead of time. Also with the USMTS Modifieds, trying to get a race worked in there also.
Any plans?
So
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it usually takes a year to get those things worked in. Mm-hmm. Everybody thinks you just jump in, let's say February and put a schedule out. There's no way. The schedules are started usually the year before July and August. Yep. And you've got them pretty much panned out.
Any prospects of working with a Friday night track as maybe touring points together, or just kind of coming together and try to join forces to try to help promote touring drivers racing multiple nights rather than just one night?
Yes. They've got a couple different programs we've talked about. We haven't got real good together with the other tracks, but we need to get some of the programs going, a little bit of a point race. They've got a couple things, I can't think of what it's called, but where you can race in McCool and I-80 and then possibly get a nice sponsor, and that's what we really need to do is find a sponsor for it.
Yep.
And then a guy races those 3 tracks, and he takes his best, I think it's 5 finishes out of each one of those tracks, and makes a little bit of a point series out of that.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Trying to get some guys to float,
mm-hmm.
things like that. The NASCAR points that go to the NASCAR themselves should mirror I-80s and ours, so that if you're racing in Division 3 at one track, you're in Division 3 at the next track. That way you're accumulating points in one division. It promotes you to race both tracks a little bit more.
We're talking with Mark Wymann, the new promoter for Adams County Speedway, acspeedway.com for more for more information. You guys got kind of a tentative time you're trying to post the 2015 schedule, hopefully have it out by the new year?
Yes, definitely. The biggest deal, as you know, we've had a lot of upsets and changes of people. Just trying to get all that stuff, the first things first and going from there. So, hopefully by January 1, we'll get the schedule out in print. You never want to say anything until it's in print. The rules have pretty much been out. We finessed them a little bit more last night at a rules meeting, and they should be getting on the internet this week.
Anything we forgot to talk about before we let you go today?
No. Other than that, we want everybody to come down and enjoy themselves, and hopefully I can get a few free tickets and hand out, come over to Joe's, get some free tickets out so we can get some more people from the city come over and nice little drive over to Corning and enjoy the Saturday night racing.
I hate to say it, Mark, but I have never made it to a race at Adams County. Despite growing up in Red Oak, Iowa, I have never made it to a race. So it is
like you. Are you looking for some free tickets?
No. I'm actually not, because I do enjoy paying my way in the gate, because I hate getting free stuff from dirt racing, because every dollar counts. But no, it's on my list. I'm gonna try my hardest to get down there one of these nights. Maybe I'll get down there for one of those SLMR series races. You'll
get down there a couple times this year. You'll come down 1 or 2 times and you'll like it. You'll decide to keep coming down. Maybe
I'll do that. Maybe I'll come down if you guys are going to have a KCSI come back. That's my first radio station I worked at in Red Oak, so maybe I'll come back and give Jerry Dietz a little grief.
You betcha.
All right, sir.
That's what it's all about.
Thanks a lot for joining us. We appreciate it. acspeedway.com for more information. That's the Adams County Speedway website. Thanks a lot, Mark. Have a good one.
You bet. Thank you, everybody.
All right, we still have a lot of show left to go today. In turn number 2, we're going to talk to Luke Cochran, the man behind Home Pride Companies and Home Pride Motorsports. We'll get an update on Jack Dover, Jesse Sobbing, and if Dennis Cook is going to continue to race for Home Pride Motorsports. In turn number 3, we're going to continue the Legends of the Dirt series with Roger Rager, and that'll go from turns 3 and turn number 4. Thanks a lot for taking the time out of your Sunday morning to join us here on the Front Stretch. This is AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
This is Andrew from Koziski Auto Parts. Koziski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Koziski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Koziski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Koziski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
We're working the high line into turn 2 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
Heading into turn number 2 here on the Front Stretch, joined in studio by the man that helped create Home Pride Companies and Home Pride Motorsports. Luke Cochran, how you doing, sir?
I'm hanging in there.
Home Pride Motorsports, you guys are in the off-season right now. I wanted to get you in the studio to kind of talk about your 2014 and then what your plans are for 2015. Good season, maybe not necessarily the season you wanted. I feel like I kind of know you a little bit. You don't think it's going to be a good season unless you got a national title under your belt, but I think you guys had a very good season still.
We did. I mean, as far as, Jack's program was on a roll pretty good. Mm-hmm. He managed to win, I think, 18 races. He had a goal of 20. He didn't win the Midwest ASCS region this year. He's won it the previous 3 years back to back to back. Yeah. And then a fourth time, I believe, in 2009. Yeah. We suffered a couple of setbacks, broke a motor. He was on a roll there for a while, and then crashed a car, and it's just that bad lady luck just wasn't shining down.
Is it the ASCS Midwest I'm thinking of that he lost the title because he had to go to a friend's wedding?
Well,
is that the one, or is that the Nebraska 360
probably
title?
Nebraska 360 championship. That would have very much been in the bag, but I still have a forgiven will for scheduling a wedding during race season. I mean, what are you thinking?
Who does that?
Yeah.
I mean, I've only been in the sport for a couple of years, and I know better than that. I missed my sister's wedding, by the way, to go to a race. So
well, there you go. That means you're a true fan.
That's right. It was her second time around.
I mean, Grace Koziski understood it. I mean, none of the kids that she had were born not in the wintertime.
You got anything to do?
It was all planned out.
Yeah. You got anything to do, you get it done in November, December, January.
That's exactly
correct. That's the time you got to get it done. You got February to get the car ready. February, March, get the car ready, and then you go racing in April. Let's talk about Jesse's season. Finished 7th in the national points. Is he going to be back racing AMOD national points, or is he going to kind of maybe let the national points go and look for his future for now?
Well, as far as his program goes, here's the biggest, hugest change that took place. I've come to the conclusion that with the tracks, I mean, he still managed to win 2 track championships.
Yep. He absolutely, by the way, he licked the field at Denison.
Yeah.
Him and Chris Abelson, and then one other driver won an AMOD feature at Denison last year.
Yeah.
That was it. And Jesse won 6, Abelson won 5, and I think Jesse won the points by about 35 or 40 points. We asked him not to show up that last night just to make it a little more interesting, but he wanted to come race.
Yeah, he came anyway.
And by the way, when I say we asked him, I meant me, not Crawford County. I should clarify that. That was just me joking around with Jesse.
Well, Jesse has lofty goals, and I mean, he really wants to win an IMCA AMOD championship. But what it comes down to is you got to win 30 features. You got to qualify for those 30 features with wins. And then after that, it comes down to bonus points. And bonus points, you can get up to 20 bonus points for a track championship or a series championship or what have you. Well, he won the 2 track championships, but there wasn't enough bonus points from either one of them that would have got him to where he needed to be. So we actually finished the season last year with about 7 starts left that we could have run more IMCA stuff. We my love is USMTS racing. That's kind of where I came from. I was part of that series from its inception. Actually, I'm one of the original investors. Okay. And though I've never seen a dividend for that, but Todd's done a great job really growing that series.
Right.
There needed to be a place for that kind of modified racing, I believe, and it's grown into what it is now. And now it's the premier outlaw modified series.
Right.
Well, I bought a car at the end of the last year, and we decided that we were just going to test the waters a little bit. So Jesse did manage to win a couple USRA races, and which sent us to Winston, Missouri, and Kansas City to Lakeside to race. We went up and run the Jamboree up in Minnesota. Okay. The big finale race for USMTS. In his heat, there's a number of cars. I believe there was about 120 cars there. We're talking 120 really good cars. So in Jesse's heat race, he came from dead last in his heat and finished second. The only guy that moved in all of the heat races. Managed to pull off a second place in the feature that night. Got everybody's attention, and then we broke a motor and we didn't have a spare for the following night. So we didn't get to finish out the last 3 days. So we run some more USRA races. We run the USRA Nationals, ran second in that race, led it for a long period of time, got snookered by Rodney Sanders, probably the best guy in the whole country.
Good guy to get snookered by.
Yeah, it's like he didn't get beat by no bum. So that all being said, I knew he could compete in that series, so here we go. We're we're pulling the trigger. We're gonna run the whole series next year.
Oh, you are?
Run for the USMTS national, or not the national championship, but the National Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
So our goal is to win a region or stay in a region, at least make the hunt, and finish potentially in the top 10 in the points, and then be the National Rookie of the Year.
And so does that put winning an IMCA national championship on the back burner? Because he's not going to be able to race weekly at a track now.
That's
so that
correct.
kind of puts it on back burner for a while?
I think it's probably going to be there for a long time.
Yeah. Well, it's something that, and it's a good transition period because you brought on Dennis Cook as a third car in a B mod this year. And if I remember correctly, when we talked at the beginning of the year, your whole goal was to help fund Dennis the way he's never been funded before so that his talent can match the cars that he has and he can win some track championships, which he's never done. And he knocked down 2 track championships this year. So maybe that's something that Jesse can revisit later on when his career is starting to slow down a little bit and he's raced up in NASCAR and he's won NASCAR championships. Maybe he'll come down and race weekly at I-80 Speedway again and win a track or win a national championship.
Well, we're going to keep some IMCA cars. We'll probably run the specials that they have, some pay and money specials, but our focus is going to be USRA, USMTS type stuff, and boy, it's becoming an education. You talk about the off season. When's that?
Yeah. Because he's got to prepare now. He's got to build. We got to have 3 cars probably.
Well, we'll probably start the season with 4. We'll have 2 USMTS cars, and we're probably going to make a USRA B mod.
Okay.
I think it's kind of in the works, and then we're going to have a good IMCA special car. Those are good. Those rules are gotten a lot closer now that IMCA finally got their act together and are allowing quick changes. Well, that's a long torrid tale. I lobbied.
You like that? I've heard some negative to it, but
what's
for
the
as
negative?
limited as I know about it, come on, it's the dirt world. They'll make negative about anything.
Well, I've been lobbying for this for better than 15 years. That at one point in time when I was racing, I had 22 sets of 9-inch gears.
Wow.
Okay. And this is when they were only $500-600 a set to own. Okay. That's like having a whole nother car. Okay, we went tour racing. That's what everybody had. So you had to carry. I carried 12 sets in the hauler all the time.
Yeah.
Because they're too heavy to move. They just kind of take up a place in the truck. It's a set of quick change gears is $60. A good set of 9-inch gears today, you're going to spend close to $1,000. Mm-hmm. So do the math.
Yeah.
It's for people that are just getting into racing. It's going to be a huge money saver. For people that are already racing, I broke a set of 9-inch gears, at least one set every year. Something had happened to them, so you had to replace them because there's always something that it was, a 543 or 567, which is a gear you use all the time. So you had to replace that gear, and you always had to have a spare for that gear. So I mean, it was a huge expense.
Yeah.
But that's probably the greatest smart move that IMC ever had, and they they're a bit of they're not the only advantage is the fact you got easier ability to change gears, the weight of all the gears you got to carry in the truck and trailer with you.
Yeah,
that's obviously a lot lighter, but it does take a little bit more horsepower to turn a quick change than it does a 9-inch. So when everybody's running crates, that could become a factor.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you pointed that because, I mean, again, people know this show long enough. They know I don't know a lot about dirt racing. I hear things on Facebook, and, some of it was, well, this is just another way for IMCA to put money in their pocket by this rule change and, whatever. There's always going to be negative criticism when you do a rule change like this. And, regardless of how good it is actually going to be, people are always negative about it. What about old Dennis Cook? Are you going to sponsor him for another year?
Yeah. I mean, Dennis, I think Dennis's plans to try to repeat as a track champion at both the racetracks again. It was a great accomplishment. His deal, me and Dennis have been friends for a long, long time. And it's so ironic. It was about this time last year when we were bumping into each other, I became aware that he had never won a track championship before. He finished second in track points. I think he said 6 or 7 times.
Jeez.
I mean, it's like, this is a thought of that. It's like nobody remembers it.
Yeah.
Who remembers that who finished the second? Nobody.
Yeah.
It all comes down to winning a championship. Mm-hmm. And obviously his time clock was ticking. And so for me, it's like I thought this would be a lot of fun just to try to help Dennis, win that championship. And I would say monetarily, we didn't help him all that much as it was the motivation and encouragement, and he responded to that.
Well, and him and Jesse worked really well together, with Jesse being as great of a B-mod driver as he is. It had to be great for Dennis, even though he's got so much experience, to be able to talk to somebody that's won track championships and has competed on a national level like that, to be able to just say, what do you think about this? What did you do? And it helped him. I think it helped him a lot.
Well, it didn't hurt, and Dennis Park pitted right next to us at Harlan. Every Saturday night. And a lot of it, Jesse's quite a motivator himself, and unlike a lot of guys that are very, very good that gain an arrogance, Jesse really doesn't have that. He's great with all the people. He's driven. He wants to win.
Yeah.
He doesn't win. He's no fun to be around, but it's because he gives it his all. And I totally respect that, but I think that was a lot of it. I think it was just, it rubbed off. And, Dennis stayed focused. I'll tell you, Dennis accomplished something this year. Of all the guys, we won 57 features as a team this year, which is pretty good accomplishment.
That's a lot of races.
4 track championships. If you're a race team and you got 3 guys and you accomplish that, that's a reasonably good accomplishment if you step back and look at it.
Yeah.
But Dennis completed every single lap of every race that he was in. Every feature. He had 28 starts and 7 wins. That's 25% of every race that he started, he won. He finished every single race. And here's something I didn't even realize until I talked to him about it. He never had a flat tire.
Really?
Yeah. 2 racetracks. All those races, never had a flat tire. I know I had a flat tire every year I raced, a lot more than once.
Right.
But a little bit of that was I was a little aggressive,
No.
Yeah,
No.
I was kind of aggressive.
Well,
that'll get you a flat tire, but you know what?
Yeah.
What an accomplishment to finish every single lap.
You can't account for other drivers. And I don't know how many times I watched him 2 years ago, in 2013, at Denison just get caught up in something. And not necessarily a big wreck, but Jesse was coming, and I don't know how many times I saw this. He was coming so fast that the other driver didn't account for it and ran into him. And just being the patient guy that he is, he would back off and get him in the next corner. But to be able to, I mean, you blow tires like that so easily when you guys just touching tires like that. So that is a big accomplishment. One last question for you before we let you go for the final night, or for today. And I appreciate your time. What about crew chiefs for the USMTS for Jesse? Are you guys gonna make any changes?
No, Goki's on board for this. This is, I think, a dream of his. I mean, here's a guy that's accomplished everything there can be accomplished as far as IMCA races go. You know, he's a crew chief for a Boone Nationals win with Dylan, won a track championship with Dylan, won multiple track championships with Johnny Sadoff. You know, I mean, he's done everything there is to do in IMCA racing. So for him, this is the same challenge. You know, can he shine like he shined in the past?
Yeah,
absolutely. I believe, you know, and I think that's our. You know, he and Jesse are gaining more and more of a dialogue to where they can communicate with each other.
That takes time.
Well, you know, and Jesse's you never really had that.
Yeah.
Jesse's always been able to make up the difference better than anybody I ever saw. Carry corner speed, you know, stay out of trouble, look far into up the track for the, you know, into the future, I call it, and see what he needs to do and make the right move. You know, and that's an attribute that's pretty great.
Home Pride Racing on Facebook is the best place to get all updates on what's going on with Home Pride Motorsports. Excuse me, it's Home Pride Motorsports.
Home Pride Motorsports
is the best place to go to. Also, check it out. Home Pride. What's your guys' website for the company? HomePride.net?
Home Pride Companies.
HomePrideCompanies.net. Luke, always do appreciate you joining us.
You bet.
We'll be back in turn number 3 to talk to Curt Hansen for the Legends of the Dirt Series. This is The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Max I. Walker has been providing great service to the Omaha area for nearly 100 years. With 23 convenient locations, it's easy to find a Max I. Walker near you. From dry cleaning to laundry to uniform rentals, Max I. Walker is here to make sure you look your best. Max I. Walker has been a proud supporter of local dirt track racing since 1974. From Sunset Speedway to Adams County Speedway and legends of the dirt like Dave Chase, Glenn Roby, Ron Tilley, and so many more. Give Max I. Walker a call today or head to maxiwalker.com. Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
Time to grab another tear-off and make your move. We're headed into Turn 3 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting.
Welcome back to the Front Stretch, heading into turn number 3, kicking off week number 5 of the Legends of the Dirt Series, brought to you by Kosiski Auto Parts, online at Kosiski.com, and located at 51st and I Street in Omaha. Just before the holidays and just before Christmas, we're going to get one more Legends in. Well, actually got 2 more Legends to go before the end of the year. If you miss any of the Legends so far, Charlie Schwartz, Steve Francis, John Gerloff, Kent Tucker, head over to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, and you can catch all of the Front Stretch shows and the Legends. You can also go back to 2013's Legends and 2012's when we kicked it all off. This week, we are talking with Curt Hansen, who has, I believe, Curt, you've got somewhere around 300 wins to your career. Can you talk to us about how your career got started? What puts you into dirt racing to start it all off?
Well, when I was really young, probably by the time I was 6 to maybe 12, my dad loved IMCA racing. And so he took me and my brother and my cousins to all the area racetracks here in Iowa, and we watched guys like Ernie Durr and Don White, Johnny Beaucamp, Tiny Lund, the Burdick boys out of Omaha, the real legends of the sport. And my favorite was Ernie Durr. And all them guys that I idled were like Tiny Lund and Dick Hutcherson. They were all big guys. But we actually met Ernie Durr one time, and he was just a little guy. And I was kind of small, and so that set my mind in action, thinking that I wanted to be a race car driver.
You didn't have to be a big, burly guy like Tiny Lund in order to race. You could be your size and still win.
That's right. And so I couldn't wait to tell everybody Well, my dad, he didn't say much. I was just a little guy. But my grandmother and my mom had a fit when I said this. So I learned real quick to keep that under my hat for a while.
When did you get to start racing? At what age did you finally get behind the wheel?
Well, I started when I was 19, and I started up in Nashua, Iowa, in a sportsman class. We raced one night a week.
And that was the start of the whole career. What all have you raced throughout your career?
Say that again?
What all have you raced throughout your career? What kind of cars?
It was strictly dirt late models. Mm-hmm. I always wanted to get into asphalt racing because later on in dirt track racing, when the tracks would get real dry and slick, a lot of guys would say, well, this is kind of like asphalt racing, and I love dry, slick racetracks. And so I always thought, I'd like to get into that asphalt racing, but there was one problem. Iowa does not have asphalt racetracks.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot of dirt tracks. In fact, a little trivia for you, Iowa has more dirt tracks per capita than any other state in the union. So pretty much every county has a racetrack, so I had to kind of stick around with dirt.
Yeah, I think we actually still hold that record. I want to say it's somewhere around 60 active dirt tracks right now. And I think Nebraska's right there with about 35 or 40 active tracks.
30 now.
So it's in the Midwest. There's a lot of tracks to go around for a few drivers.
Well, yeah, but there in my heyday in the mid '70s, we raced four and 5 nights a week. In fact, we raced 4 nights weekly, and we raced at the 4 top racetracks, and they were all within 100 miles of Waterloo, Iowa.
And one of my remembrances that I came across, and I know we've talked about it, Curt, is I think 1978 you won the track championship at all 4 of those. And the competition was incredible with the Ed Sangers, the Don Hoffmans, the Verlin Akers, everybody. You never went to one you didn't have a bunch of Iowa legends to beat.
Well, I was driving for Ed Sanger at the time, so I had top-notch equipment, and that seemed to be my peak right there. And in fact, after I talked to you about that 1978, I was talking to my son, Bobby, and he said, well, Dad, you don't know it, but you also won all 4 in 77. Now, I don't know I know his memory's a lot better than mine, but he claims I did it 2 years in a row. So
wow.
That's very possible, but I know the 78 one caught my attention. It was unbelievable, the guys you raced against.
And we went to all the tough racetracks, too, because, that's the ones that were paying the money.
Curt, did you ever race at Playland Speedway, or was that kind of before your time?
Playland was asphalt, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, he got asked for. Now, Curt did race at Sunset. He won the Cornhusker Hawkeye 3 years in a row.
Wow.
There in the mid-'70s.
Yeah, and
I was at those.
And it was quite an accomplishment. The last time he won, he beat Ed by a bumper on coming off turn 4.
Yeah, that was quite a race. That track was one of my favorite racetracks because that was a driver's track. You didn't need a lot of horsepower, especially during the feature when the track got dry. And Ed Sanger was just starting to get into small blocks with his Camaro, and I had a big block. And we traded the lead at least 3 times during that race. And every once in a while, I'd get in a little hot and slide up, and he'd get that doggone small block down on the inside of me, and it's just screaming because of the RPMs, and I could not hear my engine, and I'd spin my tires. I said, that rascal. And I'd have to tiptoe my way back and get ahead of him, and I got him on the very last corner. That was really a miracle.
Were you driving? You weren't driving for Ed at that time, were you?
No, that was my own car.
And you kind of listed him as one of those guys that you kind of looked up to in racing. Was that kind of a big win for you, beating Ed Sanger like that with how...
Oh, anytime he is the premier racer. A lot of guys ask, how come there are so many good racers in the state of Iowa? Well, it's guys like Red Drosty in the 50s and early 60s, and then Ed Sanger in the 70s. He was the top of the game, and we really didn't know that until we started traveling a little bit, and heck, we could run with anybody. But he was the best, and unless you wanted to race for second, you had to raise your game too. So that's why we were so good back here. Because
he was so good, if it made you raise your level of competition just to beat him.
That's right. And back in I started out with Fords in the early 70s. And that was back when brand loyalty was big. And I was a Ford guy, and I stuck with them all the way through 73. And then in May of 73, Ford come out and made the big announcement they were going to get out of racing. So I did not have crankshafts for my engines. And Ed Sanger, I was talking to him one night, and he says, if you want to switch to Chevy, he says, I'll give you all the part numbers and everything. He says, it'll take you weeks to come up with the right parts. He says, I got them all wrote down, but you'll have to promise me if you ever quit building your own cars, you'll race for me. And I stuck my hand out and shook his hand. I said, you got a deal.
You know, we talked to Ed last year for the Legends of the Dirt series, and he talked about he still has parts laying around his shop, engine parts and car parts, and just you never know when you're going to need them, is what he said.
Yeah, he's quite a guy. He's kind of a hoarder, you know what I mean?
I kind of got that sense. I think he stopped racing about, 10 years ago?
I think he was actually at the Knoxville Late Model Nationals 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah. So he hasn't been racing for a few years, but he still won't give up them parts.
I know. I don't blame him. And, you know, I'll bet you he kicks himself in the butt, too, that he didn't keep at least one of those old cars, because I know I do. I wish I'd have kept one of my old Fords, and then I should have bought one of Ed's cars that I drove for him, but we have no idea where that car went.
Curt, you talked about your career was pretty much strictly dirt late model racing. How come you never branched out and really raced anything else?
Well, you know, sprint cars always intrigued me, but, you know, I knew I'd probably get hurt if I drove one, so I stayed away from them, and I kind of wanted to get into asphalt, and so different guys that had called me and wanted me to drive their cars, that was one of the stipulations. I wanted, if they get me an asphalt car, I would drive their dirt car.
Yeah.
Well, I never really made the connection to asphalt, and it's probably just as well because it involved more traveling, and I was one of the few guys that didn't have a regular job. So, you know, you work 40 hours a week and race 4 or 5 nights a week. It's a hectic schedule.
Right. Makes for a busy day and weekend and night and no off time. Yeah. Was there a point in your career you began to feel like you were getting burnt out because you were racing too much and working too hard during the week?
Yes. About 1980, I think 81, I drove for Larry Eckridge. And, you know, he had a lot of success with everybody that drove for him. And we had some success, too. But, you know, my heart just wasn't in it anymore because, you know, I've been driving now for different guys since 75 is when's the last time I had my car, 76. And slowly my pit guys that have been with me all them years, the same pit guys, my best friend, my cousin, my brother, my dad, I think they were burnt out. So pretty soon I was getting in my car, in my family car, and driving down to Larry Eckridge's, getting in the hauler and driving clear down to Donaldson or West Liberty all by myself. And I said, you know, this is getting to be a lot like a job. And my son was in sports in high school at the time. He was playing football and basketball. And, you know, when you race that much, that's all you get done. I mean, you don't get to go to birthday parties or picnics or graduations or anything because there just isn't time. And I thought, you know, I'm almost 40. I think it's time that I live like the rest of the people. So I hung it up.
Do you regret hanging it up, or was it time?
It was time.
Yeah.
And another thing, the cars were changing so much. We were getting into these, what I call tube chassis. They had a car called a Gigolo. They were putting these big wedge bodies on them. We was running tires that had 6 to 8, 9 inches of stagger. They called them big Jalonis. And it was kind of a point-and-shoot car. It was nothing like what we've been racing all these years. And I thought, you know, maybe this is just about the right time to get out. So I did.
Well, Curt, let's take a quick break. We'll let you catch your breath. We'll take some commercials, and then we'll be back here in just about a minute here on the front stretch. It's the Legends of the Dirt series. We're talking with Curt Hansen, one tough Hawkeye. We'll get more into Curt's career here coming up in turn number 4. We'll be back on the front stretch.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he is talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
Get ready for the victory lap as we make our way into Turn 4 on the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
Heading into turn number 4, we're about ready to wrap up this pre-Christmas festivities here on the front stretch as we're talking with Curt Hansen for the Legends of the Dirt series. Brought to you by Kosiski Auto Parts, online at Kosiski.com, 51st and I Street in Omaha. Quality used parts. Here's the beautiful deal. Go down to Kosiski Auto Parts because batteries die this time of year. It gets cold out. They just can't quite hold the amps. Instead of going over to your local auto parts store and spending $130, $140 on a battery, go down to Kosiski Auto Parts. $40 gets you a brand new, or gets you a battery plus a lifetime warranty. If that battery dies, if it quits holding a charge, whatever it is, you bring your receipt back into Joe or Andrew at Kosiski Auto Parts. They'll give you a brand new one right off the shelf. It's simply supply and demand. Joe buys so many cars throughout the week, he's got an overflow of batteries, so he's going to sell them to you with a lifetime warranty for just $40. Make sure you get over to Kosiski Auto Parts, 51st and I Street in Omaha. We continue with the Legends of the Dirt series as we're talking with Curt Hansen, one tough Hawkeye. Curt, how did you get that nickname?
I didn't know I had that nickname.
I gave it to you.
Oh. Curt,
sorry about that, Curt.
Curt, what do you think of the nickname we gave you?
Well, hey, I love it.
Well, again, it goes back to that era that you were so tough to beat in Iowa. You didn't travel as much as had some of the other guys, and even when you did, you had some success. So I guess I was feeling kind of loosey-goosey the day I wrote it up, and I thought, yeah, we'll call him a tough Hawkeye, because you were.
I love it.
Must have missed that article.
By the way, one of the things I should mention, too, Curt has been chosen to be inducted in 2015 into the National Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame in Florence, Kentucky. So Congratulations, Curt.
Congratulations, Curt.
Well,
absolutely.
Thank you. You know, when Bob Marcus called me here a while back and told me, and we talked for a while, and I got off the phone, and the tears were just streaming down my cheeks. I just couldn't believe that I got nominated or elected into that. And my little pea brain went back to thinking about everything that went into that one phone call. My dad and my best friend and my cousin and my brother and all the time and effort, dedication, sacrifices we made just for that one phone call. But it's quite an honor to be recognized in that list of guys, I'll tell you.
Curt, if you could single out one person that was the biggest influence in your career, who do you think it would be?
Well, it's two of them. It's Ernie Durr. No, I'm going to say three. Ernie Durr and Red Drosty. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, Red Drosty is also in my class for 2015 in the Hall of Fame.
That's correct.
And Ed Sanger. Those three guys were my guys.
What was so influential for them? Was it learning their driving styles?
Even as a little kid, we'd go to them races, I would just study that Ernie Durr. That Ernie Durr was the smoothest driver. You know, they call Billy Moyer Mr. Smooth. Well, he's pretty rough compared to Ernie Durr. But Ernie Durr, I'd get right down by the fence just so I could see. His hands were so quiet on the wheel. Huh. Everybody else looked like they were wrestling an alligator, and Ernie's in there looking like he's driving on a Sunday afternoon drive. And then Red Drosty, when I got older, kept going to them races, I'd go to Tuna Speedway on Sunday night when I was in high school, and I'd watch Red Drosty. And Red Drosty was a master at going up through a pack. You know, back in them days, they'd invert 12 to 16 guys. And I always said, I want to be as smooth as Ernie Durr, and I want to charge up through a pack like Red Rosty. And they were my two guys that I studied over time.
Curt, what is your biggest and most favorite win of your career?
I'd say my biggest, the two most prestigious races was the Miller 100s in Cedar Rapids. Then the 3 races at Sunset Speedway. But the biggest race was the Knoxville Nationals in '77.
What makes those wins so important to you?
Well, like the Miller 100, that was, Hawkeye Downs, I don't know what they'd hold, 5,000 or 6,000, but that was so promoted because it was a charity race. And Mr. Fleck out of Cedar Rapids promoted that race, one race a year, and it was on a Tuesday night. And the people, that was a standing room only, and that was the race that everybody wanted to win. And there was races that paid more, but that was the most prestigious one. Everybody wanted to win the Miller 100.
Hey, Curt, I got 2 things here I just wanted to question. Did you ever have any luck up at the Yankee?
You know, the Yankees started in '79, I think, and so I was only in 2 of them.
Okay.
And I believe I had trouble in both of them.
Well, that'll happen from time to time.
Or whatever, but I didn't do anything in them 2 Yankees that I was in.
I was just curious because you hadn't mentioned that, and I wasn't exactly sure when that started. I've been over to a handful of them over there, and I just wondered if you had any luck there. But the other thing I wanted to know is, do you have any superstitions? Are you the guy that won't wear green or can't eat chicken at the racetrack or no peanuts around the race car? Or
I had 0 superstitions.
Really?
I'm a Christian guy, and I believe in God, and I don't believe in the rest of that crap. So,
Hey, Curt, you mentioned the Knoxville Jamboree, and you got to tell the viewers or the listeners the story about the year you lost it because they had the curfew. That's one of the neatest stories I've heard about racing.
Yeah. I really try to forget that story, but you guys keep bringing it up.
I keep bringing it up.
Well, anyway, Darrell Dake was leading the race, and we had a 10:30 curfew. And about, 15 after 10, 20 after 10, I had just caught him, and I was running second. He jumped the cushion going into number 3 turn and got into the wall. And he hit pretty hard because I had to really cut her to the left to miss him. And I thought, wow, what an easy way to win a race. And so we were driving on the yellow, and the wrecker come out, and there was first he got in the front, and we come back around again, and then he was in the back end of the car, and we come around again, and then he was on the front end of the car, and I thought, oh, what is going on here? I mean, he just had the right front wheel knocked off of it. And I thought, oh, now wait a minute. He's trying to stall for the curfew. I said, well, that ain't going to work because under the yellow, the last lap, and he caused the yellow, so I'm going to win the race anyway. Sure enough, the race never did get restarted, and I pull into the winner's circle, and they said, no, Darrell Dake won it. He was leading on the last completed lap. And I said, now, wait a minute. He's the one that caused the yellow. Nope, that's what we're going to go by. Judges' rules final. So I went home pretty disappointed after that one. I didn't know what to say about it. I try not to think about it, and it sounds like you're kind of a sore loser, but that was one that got away that shouldn't have got away.
But you did win it the next year.
I won her the next year. They couldn't take that one away from me.
He was leading and he crashed.
You didn't say any words that may have been construed as being unchristian that night, did you?
I might have. I wasn't that good a Christian back then.
Oh, okay.
I am now.
Hey, Curt, you talked about some of the guys you raced with and some of the guys you emulated, and Ed Sanger. I mean, who's the toughest competition you think in your career?
Well, you had one right out there in Omaha, and that was Bob Kosiski.
Yeah.
He was a good one, and I didn't get to race much with his two boys because they were just coming up when I was going out. But I could see, they didn't come by that talent just by accident. They come from good bloodlines there. Verlin Akers was also an excellent racer. I hate to start naming guys because you're going to miss out on it.
Yeah, and then you leave one out, and all of a sudden you've offended somebody. Yeah,
that's right.
But is there a guy that you constantly seem to find you were battling for the lead? Occasionally when we talk to these guys, they're track drivers. They're not. Some of them aren't series drivers, so they always found themselves around the same guys and constantly battling the same people.
Oh, that's easy. That was Ed Sanger.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a little story? Back in 1975, Denison advertised they were going to pay $5,000 for the point champion or a new Buick.
Wow.
The promoter was a Buick dealer in Denison.
Okay.
And I thought, that's a 3-hour drive. But by gosh, I'm going to go out there, and I'm not interested in that Buick, but I sure like that $5,000 because our cars only cost $5,000 or $6,000 back then.
Yeah.
A good race car. And so I go out to Denison, and guess who's out there? Ed Sanger. Oh, my gosh. We were the only two from the central and eastern Iowa. And, we got to race in there, and by mid-season, we had a pretty good lead on Bob Kosiski. So it looked like unless the world fell in, one of us is going to win it. And we always stopped on the way home at a restaurant, and we had lunch together. And at that time, I was leading Ed by just a few points. And he says, Curt, one of us is going to drive out here 3 hours every Saturday night. Somebody's going to go home with $5,000, and the other guy isn't going to get anything. He said, I'm going to throw this out here. You can say yes or no. He said, talk it over your dad. And it's totally up to you. But here's what I'm proposing. If you win the point championship and you have 51% of the points and I have 49, that's how we split the money. And I said, Dad, I don't even have to talk to my dad. I stuck my hand out and I shook hands with him. It's a good thing that I wasn't greedy because at the end of the year, he beat me like by 3 or 4 points. He had 50.2% of the and I had 49.8. Now, if I'd have been a hog, I'd ended up getting nothing.
Wow.
And that was a long trip out there. Trust me.
Yeah, well, 3 hour. I drive it because I do the announcing down there. I do the hour and 15, and I complain about that every single week about driving. Oh, so I can't imagine driving 3 hours to go do a race.
Oh yeah, it was 2, 3 o'clock every Sunday morning by the time we got home.
Jeez, you drove back that night.
Oh yeah, we did every time.
I guess you guys didn't have these big fancy haulers like they got now, where you could just pull up a cot and sleep comfortably.
I had a Ford pickup. That was good.
Well, those are pretty comfortable, right?
Yeah, they were. It was a good truck.
As long as you had the bench seat.
Yeah.
Well, usually I always drove on the way home because, my heart was still going 100 mile an hour and everybody else was tired. I'd sleep on the way out to the races because I was always nervous, and it was a way to calm my nerves. And so I'd drive on the way home, and most of the time I'd have the radio turned up, and I was trucking along all by myself.
Curt, let me get one more question out of you before we let you go, and we move on to our next event, before we end the show, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is there a scariest moment you had in racing where you kind of walked away, and maybe it was a day or two later you thought back, boy, I was lucky to survive that?
I've only been in an ambulance once, and that was up Mason City, and it was a Jerry Holcamp got into the fence and started flipping end over end. And I was basically going to get away from him because he's right in front of me. But then somebody hit me in the back that didn't see the wreck and pushed me into him, and it caught my front end. So I was taking off like a rocket. I was pointing towards the stars and kind of leaning toward the left. And I looked out the window, and I seen car number 49. 49 was on the roof, and he was underneath me. So he drove underneath me. And that's the last thing I remembered. And I woke up. I landed on my wheels. I've never rolled over. In all them thousands of laps, I've never been over on my top.
Wow.
But I landed on my wheels. But boy, my shoulder was, I'd pulled all the muscles in my right shoulder. And that's the only time I ever went to the hospital.
Wow. That's, I'm constantly amazed when I hear stories like that because I keep bringing it up about, safety innovations the last 20 years have been astronomical, and the things you guys used to race, it's amazing that some of you guys walked away completely unscathed.
I know it, because at that time we did have racing uniforms, but we didn't have near the seats or the head restraints, none of that stuff. We didn't even wear gloves back then.
Well, Curt, we appreciate your time. It's an honor to talk to you. Congratulations on the nomination next year for the Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame. Have a great holiday season, and take care of yourself, sir.
Well, you guys too. You guys have a good Thanksgiving.
Thanks you so much.
Kurt.
Well,
take care.
Thanks, Kurt.
Okay, we'll see you.
All right, have a good one. Bye.
Yep, bye.
So the newly nicknamed the toughest Hawkeye.
I probably was drinking a lot of coffee that morning.
We'll say it was coffee.
Curt is one of my favorites, and
Yeah.
I see him at Knoxville every year, and he was unbeatable in Iowa, and he had some tremendous competition, like he said.
Seemed like a really great guy. Wish we could have talked to him for a little bit longer, but as things all do, and we have to wrap it all up. We'll be back in the new year. Actually, what am I talking about? We'll be back next weekend to begin to usher in the new year. I'm losing my words. We've been recording for quite a while. Roger Ranger in tomorrow. Jeez, let me just back up here. We'll be back next weekend, folks.
Rewind.
Way more fresh. I'm gonna get cleaned up, and I'm gonna put a little wedge into my conversation, and we'll get tightened up here. Roger Ranger will join us before we end 2014. Also, Ray Gus Jr. will kick off the new year in 2 weeks on January 1st for the Legends of the Dirt Series. Make sure to join us the following weekend. CJ Rayburn, Mark Noble, Willie Kraft, all still to join us, plus the Playland Speedway shows. If you happen to miss any of the Legends of the Dirt Series, you can go to the Joe's Karting YouTube page at youtube.com. Just search Joe's Karting. You can subscribe to their YouTube page, and you'll get updates about when we post videos. Charlie Schwartz, Steve Francis, John Gerloff, Kent Tucker all joined us. And again, Curt Hansen today, Roger Ranger next weekend, followed by Ray Gus Jr., and so on. You can go to the Front Stretch Facebook page, like it, and find out all the happening action for the news and notes, plus what's coming up this weekend in the show. Lee Ackerman, as always, appreciate your time. Have a great Christmas. John Walsh, we appreciate you jumping in studio and helping us out.
Totally my pleasure. This is awesome.
We'll have to keep doing it. You do a great job asking questions. You take a little pressure off of all of us because you got some knowledge. And Dirk, I always love it when you join us in the studio. You've always got the great things to say.
Keep it lively.
All right, we'll be back next weekend to talk to Ray Gus Jr. and so much more. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Max I. Walker has been providing great service to the Omaha area for nearly 100 years. With 23 convenient locations, it's easy to find a Max I. Walker near you. From dry cleaning to laundry to uniform rentals, Max I. Walker is here to make sure you look your best. Max I. Walker has been a proud supporter of local dirt track racing since 1974. From Sunset Speedway to Adams County Speedway and legends of the dirt like Dave Chase, Glenn Roby, Ron Tilley, and so many more. Give Max I. Walker a call today or head to maxiwalker.com. Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.